extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah, extraordinaire. Yes.
Blushing.
I mean, seriously, you've done radio, you're doing podcasts now.
Yeah.
You've done several initiatives that you're so proud of.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to have you here.
Thank
you for
you.
joining us.
Thanks
and
for
like
having
we
me.
always start the show, we're gonna ask you, because it's Bigpins Radius.
Yeah.
How you met Bigpin.
I was trying to remember that the other day. Okay, first and foremost, it must have been an interview. It must have been an interview.
Must have been an interview. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
must have been an interview. Possibly, I believe I must have interviewed you from my first radio show because I was at 1FM to begin with. And that was my first time meeting celebs and I was like early 20s, so excited, just like what? But I do remember the first ever interview that I had with you. What I do know, I asked you amongst very many other professional things.
Yeah.
Because I'm Luo. My family grew up in Kisumu.
Yeah.
And that line of yours that we love beer.
I remember.
Dude, I do not.
You don't all like beer.
Okay.
So you had to clarify.
I was like, bro. I like wine.
I don't
But I
do beer.
whiskey.
I like
Fine.
You know. But yeah, so we it was definitely an interview, and I think I just was very taken aback by how down to earth he was. His head was not in the clouds or like being very condescending, which for people who have achieved a certain level of success, you get to have a lot of that. So that wasn't there, and I think then later on we realized that we have your cousin who's a friend of mine. So many like
also like I wanted to get into radio, so I also wanted you to like sort of like help me in for some interview.
You came for an interview at the radio show. So she was interviewing you.
Yeah. So my version of meeting her was like I hear.
Was it in daylight and I was proceed.
Sure.
Continue.
I remember being okay, this is my we were following up new radio stations, so these are the conversation, how conversation came in. So 1FM was the new station which is playing a lot of local music.
Yeah.
Remember?
We only played African
music fully, and we were like,
that was the niche that they came up with.
Yes, 1FM. I was like, this is the kind of channel we as artists need to support, because they are clearly playing African music, they're playing a lot of local music. Like, we're not having that conversation of play KE music. Those are the places to go to, you know. So I remember I've always been a big fan of reggae personalities, because even when we were starting, the people who made us big
radio,
were radio, and we were close with radio people, kenyanmusicstories, you know, those are like people we used to hang out with. So you're like, you know, this is like a new chick who's coming. First of all, her personality is wild. You know, talking us like, and then if you see us like, have you ever seen that chick? I remember the conversation. Have you ever seen that chick? Like, she's a small chick. She's like a small, but her personality, you know, and she's always, you know, she's always smiling. It's like, so I remember her calling me, and I was excited. It's like, hey, this is that chick I was talking about. Let's go here, you know, like her story, and she called me for the interview, and of course, definitely. I hooked up there, and I was interested in radio because after my career, I was thinking that was around 2000. When did we meet actually?
It must have been 2010. If it goes Kabisa, 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
And that's the time I finished.
2011.
Yeah, I finished my career. I mean, my
wasn't finished. We were just doing
the break. So I was thinking of, you know,
what next?
I'd be interested in radio, but radio is hard, you know. So and when I saw her doing this, you know what? I would want to learn from someone who's younger, because they'll give me the new update of what's happening. Then I'd be more updated.
That's smart.
You know. So that was like my initial plan. So when I went for the interview, I was like, this chick, you know, she's one who, like, even her vibe, even the questions she was asking was like, what? This is the kind of music like you need, you know. This is the kind of vibe that you need.
Different energy.
And she asked, the first person who asked me, who actually told me about the Mamanzo Kisumu Napenda, because it was a line which everyone used to like. It's like, Mamanzo Kisumu Napenda. Hey, it's always like a person. And now she's like, you know what? We all don't do beer. So I'm like, Okay.
Where did that
Remix. What remix?
That is so interesting.
So that
Yeah.
so now later on is when I remember I come for is it are they called like auditions? Would you come to try out?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can call it an audition, like demos and things like
Demos,
that.
yeah.
We did do a demo.
And you did a demo for radio.
Yes. And she was leading because she was radio. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because that was 1FM, and we had so much space on the station. I think at the time when we started, we only had 2 shows. We had the breakfast and the drive show, and then I had my co-host at the time. And then he left. So I think, was it around that time we were looking for a co-host for me?
Yes.
And I think what always used to happen that was so crazy is that I talk a lot. So even my first co-host, it took months. Like I think months for me to get a co-host. Fuck, I thought these guys are going to fire me. She's a weekend. She wants everybody who came. Like just either I was over talking or overshadowing them and stuff. So I think I got my co-host Roy, probably maybe a month, like very few weeks to the launch.
Yes.
And I was just like, Yanni, I have this job, and then it just goes.
Before even started.
So then when I needed a co-host again, that problem came up. Because it's like, okay, you're talking a lot and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know how to turn it off, guys. Like,
this is me.
So I had actually forgotten that we did actually. And I think after that, I left 1FM soon after that. So I'm pretty sure I didn't even have a co-host. Because we started the co-host looking thing and then
you never had a course,
and then I was like,
even later on.
and really social media.
Oh my God, you got to sound. And then I moved to Kiss, and I didn't.
How's the transition now?
Kiss was
getting
hectic.
into a bigger station.
Kiss was hectic from the word go, because I got the call. I remember because 1FM offices were in town, and so I don't even know what roles I was doing, and some numbers that was calling me, and I didn't have it saved. And at that time, it was like, and then I got an SMS, and I was like, "Hi, it's Caroline Mutoko from Radio Africa. I'd like to talk to you." I packed
immediate.
Why trying to talk to me? Like, you don't even know me. Anyway, so it was when I transitioned. I really still believed in 1FM. I believed in what we were starting, because I love African music. So I felt like we were ahead of the game in that sense, you know. And I really tried to stay. I really like those ones that we were telling you. It was just, I feel like I'd hit a ceiling. I'd done HR. I'd done. I'd done so much, and I was just like, why are we not marketing? Why are we not doing this? Why are we not doing this? And so I was like, okay.
Do you have creative?
I think,
were they giving you creative?
like license? Yeah, I think I had, to some extent. Obviously, it's not my station.
You can only do only so much.
You know what I mean? You can only do so much. And so even when I was leaving, I really had a long time talking to Kiss, because I was like, you guys are not playing the right African music. And like the Kenyan music they were playing, no offense to like gospel music or whatever, it was very old gospel music. And I was just like, I cannot, even myself, I can't see myself sitting down. Again, I wouldn't name names of the songs, but it's like, it's just not stuff that I would like. And also it's not stuff that I don't think your audience are
At the end of the day.
Not only me, but also them, you know.
For something fresh, it needs to be a bit more fresher.
You need to be
No pun intended.
So we had long conversations about that. But I remember when I finally signed on and I got to work, it was crazy, because these are people I grew up listening to. Like, I remember vaguely, because I was really young, like the Kiss billboards causing like a lot of issues in Nairobi, because Kiss, manners. And like the only other station then was like Cape Town. It was Cape Town. It was Capital FM. And so going into a space where you were working with you grew up hearing these names, and now you're in that space. It was like a lot of
Were you intimidated?
pressure. I don't think I was intimidated. I was shocked, because Radio Africa has quite a few radio stations, and the studios were all in one line. And I thought my first show, because when I done my first show, everybody like the window into the production booth, everyone was there saying that nothing can go wrong. And here at Kiss, there's no one. Like,
it's you.
Whether you're fainted inside that person, I was like, okay, this is day one. I genuinely could collapse.
Yeah, something would have happened. Panic, pressure.
No one has come in for 5 hours. Like, you left me with your station, you know? And they're like, we've given you a job to do. Trust you to do the job. If you have an issue, you can come outside and look for someone to help you. So
you just continue doing your job.
And so it was one of those things where when you go in there, it's really up to you. You've been briefed. If there are any like commercial stuff, like you've been briefed and everything. And by the time I was joining Kiss, I was doing the mid-morning show, so the breakfast show was Caroline Mutoko, and so I was a bridge between her and Shafi and Kaleche.
Yes,
that was pressure. That was pressure.
How
did you handle that pressure? Because that was coming from 1FM, and then
when you're inside there, honestly, there's no time for pressure, and also it's around music. I think music you kind of like forget, and when you're in there, you don't think. There's millions of people listening. I think the pressure only comes when you have commercial content. Even to date with my podcast, I do have pressure when I have advertisers because it's like, so there's that pressure. But like when you're in there, you don't really see it. And honestly, they came for me, so it's like they must see something even on the moments that I don't see it. They must.
And that's why
there's something.
That's what I was going to ask you. Before I was going to ask you stumbled onto radio, as you say, because of your poetry background. I can tell from your personality, you're just bubbly.
I still do.
Sorry, pressure. The poetry.
After the show.
I'm so sorry.
So how is that? Do you still do poetry?
I still write poetry. I've really actually gotten back into writing poetry. I think it's very important for people to have a hobby that's not necessarily like has that.
Exactly. Just like to
you
do
need to have that one thing that is just like happiness, and I think for a while, I'd go through like writing blocks here and there because life just does its thing. And so even like this year, I started January by going for 1 week on a writing retreat. Like I just found a cottage.
What you do?
You journal and then your poems come from you journaling.
No. It's like it's actual poetry. It's actual pieces. And so I just found like a cottage on Airbnb. I went there for a week to write, and it was really great.
Only writing. Left work.
I left work. Like it was so good. I even left
alone. You went alone?
Yeah, I went alone, and it was really, really beautiful because like one of the pieces I'm very proud of, and I shared some of them on my website.
This is why.
Oh, it's not rapper.
Okay.
Let me do that. No, I was just about to say even as.
Okay.
That's so nice. But it was good because I like there was a piece I was trying to write, so I got time to research for it around like slavery and religion in Kenya, and it was
that's deep.
So it's my happy space. It's where a lot of things make sense for me in poetry, and so that was really. I mean, I didn't want to be I am a poet, but it wasn't like that was a career path. It was PR. I really did love PR. But then radio happened, and if you're in campus, you get this call, and you're told, "Hey, come on, can you host a radio show?" And it's like, why not?
Why not? Yeah. Like, what else am I doing?
So I think I can, So that's literally how I got into 1FM. But at the time, I was hosting an open mic poetry gig where a lot of Kenyan musicians were coming on to perform. So people like Wendy Kimani, Elani, Fena, Patricia Kiporo. And so that really did help because when 1FM called, when I went there, first and foremost, I was already like in my chant down Babylon phase. I had like my dreadlocks, not to say that Africans have one look, but it was really pronounced for me at that time. I had like my beads and everything. I looked like, I know this Africa thing that you guys are
like I know what I'm doing. Look at me.
And then in the interview, I could name drop. Yeah, you know that's Wendy Kimani. a new song. And I
part of the process making it,
And so I think that was really important for me getting the job because I had no radio skills. I did not know how to edit. I didn't. I had no radio skills.
Yeah, definitely.
I was doing PR.
So you learned this all on the job.
I learned on the job everything, like just become friends with your producers.
With your confidence,
So it was there the whole time.
It was there, but the technical you can learn on the
You can always
job.
learn, yeah. But just how you, I remember even you telling me, because I remember when you're doing that, the first trial show,
Yeah.
I remember the producer, I can't remember his name, was telling me, hey, be careful with that chick, like, she's really, like, hold on again, fast paced. And me, there I'm always like, okay, I have to sit down and load and try to see, okay, how good. He was like, yeah, so be careful. I was trying it, I was like, I can't do this. this needs a different kind of like brain to think of because like I sort of like really like to analyze a lot, so I have to think about it for too long. So when you can't overthink, like okay, let's go. This is what's happening now.
No, but I think you can. I think there's a space for everybody. I mean, it's what you're doing now. If you think about new media, this is new media.
New media, exactly.
I think it's just like finding how you work. You know what I mean? And maybe then that means that you do the prep beforehand, so that the thinking is not happening now when the mic is on, and it's just finding
for him it's
how do I work best.
He's overthinking.
When
he's thinking.
Because I'm an overthinker, and before I've gone there, I've thought of all scenarios.
check. Are we good?
About it in like 2.5 seconds.
Exactly, that's the difference. I think about it in 5 minutes.
And it'll roll off her tongue.
Be careful, that chick will eat you up with them. Like,
but also the
my
worst
hobby.
thing is I don't work well in groups. I've learned that. I think in
Is it
music.
because you like to take control?
Yeah. And I think
That's your personality.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm a control freak, and I'm like, imagine guys, that's how I work, and so like, and it can rub people the wrong way. So I am confident
I like it.
that.
I really
Like, so I just like even the podcast thing. It's only now that I outsource a few things here and there. So if it's like video, I'll outsource that. To my very good friend. Like I'll have partners for certain things, but doing the work by myself, that's my happy place. I'm like, I didn't have to tell someone, hey,
I did it this way. And you're fully hands on everything. You upload, you clear, you edit, you
I record both myself and the different storytellers who are in each episode. And I also then edit it. I do the graphic work.
Where'd you get the time to do all that?
I think it's just like mapping out, like sticking to a regimen. Like, Sunday morning, this happens. So all my production work gets done on Sunday, and then it's put into different pockets that I can access easily, like virtual platforms. And then nowadays with apps and things, it's easy to edit on the go, post as you're going, and you know what I mean? Especially once you've done all the hard work, which is the production. And even with graphics, I have my brand colors, I have my brand fonts, my brand values, So once you've done all of that, it's like you're just changing. You have a template. You're just changing as you go. And honestly, it really did start off with me saying, if I'm going to run this as a business, I can't be paying certain things that are not bringing in revenue at the beginning.
That's what I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges, apart from financial?
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you faced coming from a corporate setting where you're employed, you were used to having a salary, and to now an entrepreneur where you have to? What are some of the biggest challenges you faced?
I think it's not even challenges, to be quite frank. You just kind of have to have the right mindset when you're starting anything new, right? And you kind of have to know what your weaknesses are and start working on them, or get somebody who's strong in that, and know what you have to do beforehand before you start, right? So I knew, okay, fine, it has to be content that's sustainable. Like I want 100 weeks from now, not to be like, oh my Jesus, now we have to, what's happening? We're changing the podcast name. So I'm like, okay, there's that. There's because I was really unhappy in traditional radio. So for me, it was like, what's going to make me, what am I going to be happy doing? I just felt like it wasn't matching who I was at the time.
You felt like you were being stifled?
Not really stifled. It just wasn't for me anymore. You know, I got in when I was 20. I left when I was 30.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Even the music I was playing, it couldn't. I was just like, whatever. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of talk about you leaving already. People like, why is she leaving? She's on her prime.
Yeah.
She's perfect, whatever. It's like, why would
you have this dream job from the outside in. Everybody wants it. But I really did know that this is it for me. Like, I'm not, you know, after that brings opportunities for like, oh, are you going to go into management? I'm like, I'm 30. I do not want to be stuck in an office. You know what I mean? I want to explore the world, and outside of my radio job, everything else was really thriving in terms of being in sync with who I am. You know what I mean? So if it's like, you know, programs when it comes to non-profit, if it's the organizations that I was working with around social media stuff, the festivals I was going for, because I remember before, I wanted to resign even before I was moved to the breakfast show. So when I was moved to the breakfast show, I was like, oh, actually, this could actually work, because here I want to go and this breakfast show is more visible. So I'll hit whatever goals I need to hit faster than on mid-morning. So, okay, this makes sense. And then I stayed. So I moved to the breakfast show in 2016. In 2017, I got married. I was meant to resign that year, and then I was like, okay, those are two huge life changes in 1 year.
1 year. Pause a little.
I'm like, I have to like share a house with an entire human.
Let me go to work.
Yeah. I was like, okay, let's just postpone. And then 2018, I was like, oh my God, I'm so unhappy. Because like internally, I've always been very self-aware. And so when I know a space doesn't serve me, my body gets so uncomfortable. And I was having like panic attacks, and because I didn't know what I wanted to do next. That was also what was irritating me. Like I'm like,
okay, after
what
me,
is the plan?
what is the plan? I'm leaving to do what.
But every day you're so unhappy, so you don't have the energy to think of that plan.
Yeah, so you're so drained.
You're drained, you know?
Bigpins Radio.